You can read every Stoic book ever written and still live in constant distraction. The truth is, without structured daily routines, wisdom fades when life gets difficult. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca mastered discipline by training their minds every day. Here, we reveal 5 Stoic routines that turn Stoicism from theory into unshakable daily practice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote those words nearly 2,000 years ago. They sound simple enough, but here's the paradox. Almost no one lives by them. You say you want peace, focus, and discipline, yet you spend most of your day wrestling with things you can't control. The traffic light that turns red when you're in a hurry. The client who changes their mind at the last minute. The comment online from someone you'll never meet. And you tell yourself that these things ruined your day. Here's the hard truth. They didn't. You did. You handed over your peace willingly, sometimes before you've even finished your morning coffee. The real battle is not out there. It's in here. You've been trying to bend the world to fit your expectations instead of bending your expectations to fit the world. Epictetus said it plainly. Some things are in our control, and some are not. That single line is a dividing wall. On one side is wasted energy. On the other, freedom. Which side you live on is entirely your choice. The modern world makes this even harder. We carry devices in our pockets designed to remind us, minute by minute, of everything we cannot control. News from across the globe. Updates from people we barely know. Opinions about events we can't influence. And yet, we consume them as if knowing will grant us power. It won't. All it grants you is distraction. If you've ever wondered why your day feels scattered, why your focus disappears before noon, this is it. You've been giving away your attention to things that don't deserve it. So the first Stoic routine is both the simplest and the most difficult. Own only what is yours. That means you invest your mental energy where it can actually produce results. In your actions, your choices, your responses. Not in other people's approval. Not in the unpredictable turns of fortune. Not in whether the world bends to your will. And this isn't just philosophy. It's a practical survival skill. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you reclaim the one thing you truly own, yourself. If you find value here, subscribe. It's a small click for you, but it helps us share more timeless Stoic wisdom with the world. Here's something I want you to consider, and I'd like you to answer in the comments. Which do you think is harder? A. Controlling your thoughts. Or B. Controlling your emotions. There's no right or wrong answer, but your choice will reveal a lot about how you currently approach life's challenges. Now, let me give you something you can do today. Tonight, write down 2 lists, what I controlled and what I didn't. Tomorrow, commit to spending your energy only on the first list. This isn't an exercise in ignoring reality. It's a way to filter it. You'll find that most of the stress, irritation, and wasted effort you experience comes from column 2. And here's the part that surprises people. When you stop feeding that column, it shrinks. You'll start noticing more opportunities, more energy, and more clarity because you've stopped pouring resources into things that can't be changed. But here's where most people fail. They understand the concept, they nod in agreement, and then they go right back to fighting the wind. They confuse knowing the truth with living it. It's the difference between reading about strength training and actually picking up the weight. The discipline to focus only on what you can control isn't built in a single day. It's built in small, repeated acts of choosing principle over impulse. And every time you succeed, you reinforce the one form of power that can't be taken from you. And yet, there's a principle Marcus Aurelius lived by that most people ignore until it's too late, until you want life to be smooth. You expect that if you plan carefully enough, work hard enough, and think ahead far enough, the road will straighten. But the Stoic truth is the opposite. The more meaningful your goal, the more resistance you should expect. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about comfort. He wrote about preparation, about meeting the day, knowing that obstacles were not interruptions, but the very material you would use to build your character. The idea sounds noble when you read it in a book. It feels different when the resistance shows up in your actual life, at the worst possible moment, wrapped in inconvenience or disguised as failure. The intellectual pain here is this. Most people claim they want growth, yet they flee at the first sign of friction. You call it bad timing or bad luck, but in Stoic practice, it's just training arriving ahead of schedule. When the project at work gets delayed, your mind labels it as wasted effort. When a conversation with a partner turns tense, you see it as proof something is broken. But in both cases, the Stoic sees a forge, heat and pressure that shape raw material into something stronger. Epictetus told his students, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." He wasn't speaking in metaphor. He was telling you that the weight you lift is the strength you keep. The mistake is treating resistance as a verdict, when in truth, it's a signal. Resistance doesn't mean stop. It means something worth your effort lies on the other side. It marks the edge of your current abilities and invites you to push past it. You've seen this in physical training. A muscle grows only when you load it beyond what it's used to. The same law applies to the mind and spirit. Without friction, you remain exactly where you are. The comfort zone isn't safety, it's stagnation. You might be thinking, so I should enjoy the struggle? Not exactly. Stoicism doesn't ask you to love difficulty for its own sake. It asks you to welcome it for the refinement it brings. The aim is not masochism, it's mastery. That means approaching resistance without panic, without resentment, and without the illusion that you can avoid it forever. Whether it's a sudden change in circumstances, a competitor gaining ground, or a personal plan falling apart, the Stoic approach is the same. Adjust your stance, tighten your grip, and move forward one deliberate step at a time. In my own life, I've noticed a pattern. The more I resist resistance, the more it multiplies. But when I meet it head on, naming it, studying it, using it, it loses its power to derail me. It becomes a teacher. The lesson is always the same. Your control lies not in removing the obstacle, but in controlling the way you engage with it. The world will not stop throwing resistance at you. Your only choice is whether you use it as an excuse or a sharpening stone. If you know someone who needs this message, share this video with them. You might change their day or even their life. And while you're thinking about resistance, consider this. The next section explores a daily practice that decides, more than anything else, whether you meet that resistance with focus or with chaos. It's a principle Marcus Aurelius used every morning, one that shapes the rest of your day before you've even left your bed. You believe the day begins when you open your eyes. The Stoic would tell you it starts long before that, set in motion by the thoughts habits, and expectations you carried into yesterday's sleep. This is the hard truth. If you wake without a clear intention, the day is already being decided for you and not by you. The first minutes after you wake are not neutral. They are either a deliberate act of self-direction or an open door for the world's chaos to walk in. Most people assume they can handle whatever comes simply by reacting to it. But reaction is a form of surrender. The moment you begin your morning scrolling through headlines or checking notifications, you've handed the controls to someone else's priorities. You tell yourself it's harmless, a quick look, just to catch up. Yet that quick look often dictates the tone of your next hour, maybe your entire day. Marcus Aurelius wrote each morning to remind himself of the people he would meet and the challenges he would face, not to dwell on them, but to prepare. Preparation isn't paranoia. It's a shield you craft before the arrows start flying. The intellectual trap here is thinking that clarity will appear once you're already in motion. It won't. The momentum of a chaotic start doesn't slow down on its own. It accelerates. You might accomplish a dozen small tasks by noon and still feel as if nothing important has been done. That's because activity without direction is not progress. It's noise. And in a world that rewards busyness more than thoughtfulness, it's easy to mistake the two. The Stoic way rejects this illusion. It insists that you set your bearings before you move, because every step without a destination is wasted energy. Clarity in the morning doesn't require an hour-long ritual. It requires a conscious pause. It could be as simple as sitting at the edge of your bed and asking, "What kind of person will I be today?" This question reframes your decisions. Instead of being pulled toward whatever is urgent, you start to act in alignment with what is important. In my own experience, this single question changes the quality of choices throughout the day. A challenge becomes an opportunity to prove patience. A distraction becomes an invitation to return to focus. The problem is not that you don't know this. The problem is that you think you can skip it without consequence. Every day you begin without clarity. You train yourself to let external events set your agenda. And the longer you do this, the harder it becomes to tell the difference between what matters and what merely demands your attention. Seneca warned that life is frittered away by detail when we fail to guard our time. Your morning is the gate. If you don't stand watch there, nothing else you guard will matter. If this lesson resonates with you, like this video and subscribe for more timeless Stoic wisdom. Next, we'll uncover the mindset Marcus Aurelius used to remain unshaken, even in the face of death. It's a perspective that compresses all hesitation, all wasted effort into a single sharp truth, that life's value is inseparable from its brevity, and acting on this truth changes everything. Comfort is not the reward you think it is. The longer you cling to it, the less prepared you are when life inevitably removes it. Seneca practiced sleeping on the floor and eating the simplest food, not because he enjoyed deprivation, but because he understood that comfort creates a dangerous illusion, that you will always have it. The paradox is clear. If you never practice living without, you will suffer twice when loss arrives. First from the loss itself, and then from the shock of not knowing how to endure it. You already know that challenges will come, yet you postpone preparing for them, telling yourself you will deal with discomfort when you must. That is procrastination in its purest form. Imagine an athlete who refuses to train until the day of competition. The result is predictable: fatigue, disorientation, and defeat. Life is no different. If you wait until hardship is forced upon you, you'll be fighting on unfamiliar ground with untested strength. Voluntary discomfort is the Stoics' way of training before the contest begins. It is controlled exposure to what most people avoid: the cold, the hunger, the silence, the inconvenience. Epictetus advised, practice then, from the start, to say to every harsh impression, you are an impression, and not at all the thing you appear to be. When you choose discomfort, you begin to separate your reaction from the event. You stop flinching at every minor irritation and start meeting it with steadiness. In practical terms, this could be as simple as taking a cold shower, walking instead of driving, or skipping a meal you don't need. The goal isn't to punish yourself. It's to remind yourself that you can function, and function well, under conditions less than ideal. This is the foundation of resilience, knowing from experience that you are not dependent on everything being easy. The benefit is twofold. First, it builds a quiet confidence that no sudden change can dismantle. Second, it sharpens gratitude for the comforts you do have. When you've gone a day without them, you return not with entitlement, but with appreciation. The bed feels warmer. The food tastes richer, not because they changed, but because you did. But if you keep delaying, opportunities won't just pass by. They will never return. The strength you could have built this month will not magically appear later. The discipline you could have forged through small acts of discomfort will remain absent when you need it most. And when adversity comes, as it always does, you will face it unprepared. If you want to meet the unpredictable with composure, start by making the predictable your own comfort, something you occasionally step away from. You will find that fear of loss diminishes, and the space it once occupied is filled by capability. Next, we turn to a perspective Marcus Aurelius carried through his life, a lens that transforms how you spend your hours and how you value them. It is a principle that confronts you with the reality that your time is finite, and in doing so, makes each decision sharper and more deliberate. You live as if time is an unlimited resource. You delay important conversations, postpone meaningful work, and tell yourself that the right moment will appear later. But later is not guaranteed. The Stoics face this reality directly, not to cultivate fear, but to strip away the illusion that there will always be more. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." His point was not about urgency for its own sake, but about clarity. When you acknowledge that life is finite, you begin to weigh each choice more carefully. Memento mori, remember you must die, is often misunderstood as a morbid fixation. In truth, it is a discipline of perspective. You are not meant to dwell on death itself, but to measure the value of what you do today in light of the fact that your days are numbered. When you see your time as limited, small frustrations lose their weight. The argument that seemed important yesterday feels trivial. The opportunity you were unsure about suddenly demands your attention. You become more willing to let go of what drains you, and more determined to act on what matters. In modern life, it is easy to forget this perspective. The pace of work, the constant stream of information, and the comfort of routine make it feel as though tomorrow will always come. You check your phone, answer a few messages, and before you know it, Another day has passed without any deliberate action toward your highest priorities. The problem is not that you are unaware of mortality. The problem is that you behave as though it does not apply to you right now. The Stoic approach is to integrate the awareness of death into daily life in a way that shapes your behavior. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not a call to recklessness, but a filter for focus. If something would not matter in the face of your own mortality, why give it so much of your attention now? If an action or a word would add meaning to your life's final day, why not do it today? You can begin this practice in simple ways. Place a small object on your desk or in your pocket to remind you of life's brevity. Ask yourself each morning, if this were my last day, how would I choose to live it? This is not an invitation to abandon responsibility, but to prioritize wisely. It is a reminder that while you cannot control how long you live, you can control how deeply you live within the time you have. Memento mori is not about thinking less of life. It is about valuing it more. By holding the awareness of death close, you are less likely to waste time on the unimportant and more likely to engage fully with the present. In just one sentence, share the Stoic principle you live by. In this video, we explored 5 proven Stoic routines: owning only what is within your control, expecting and using resistance, beginning each day with clarity, practicing voluntary discomfort, and walking with death in mind. Together, they form a practical framework for daily discipline and inner calm, grounded not in theory, but in deliberate, repeatable actions that strengthen your mind against distraction and adversity. The deeper lesson here is that Stoicism is less about enduring hardship passively and more about preparing for it actively. By making small, intentional choices each day, choosing focus over reaction, resilience over comfort, and purposeful living over aimless activity, you create a foundation of strength that does not depend on circumstances. You can apply this immediately by selecting one principle to act on tomorrow morning. Whether it is setting your intention before checking your phone, embracing a small inconvenience to build resilience, or reminding yourself that your time is finite and should not be wasted. A fresh perspective worth considering is that the measure of a day is not how much you accomplished, but how closely your actions aligned with the person you intend to be. This shifts the focus from chasing outcomes to living with integrity in the present moment. Which of these routines, if practiced consistently, do you believe would have the most impact on your life right now, and why? Subscribe to discover timeless Stoic principles each week and learn how to apply them in real life.